Let's be honest, the most dangerous kind of love isn't the loud, obvious kind you can see from a mile away. It's the quiet one, the one that hides behind distance, mixed signals, and silence that feels heavier than words. And if you're watching this, there's a part of you that already feels it. Something about her doesn't add up. She's close, but not too close. Warm, then suddenly cold, like she's fighting something inside herself every time she looks at you. That's not confusion, that's control. When a woman in love, but trying to hide it, you won't get clarity. You'll get contradiction. And most men misread this completely. They think she's not interested. They think she's playing games. Or worse, they think they're imagining it. You're not. See, when a woman catches real feelings, deep consuming emotional attachment, it scares her more than it excites her. Because love, real love, means losing control. And if she's been hurt before, if she has built walls, if she's learned the hard way what vulnerability costs, she won't run toward it. She'll resist it. And that resistance creates patterns, subtle signs that don't scream for attention, but once you see them, you can't unsee them. Like the way she watches you when she thinks you're not looking. Not casually, not out of curiosity, but intensely. Like she's studying you, memorizing you, trying to understand why you make her feel the way she does. And the moment you catch her, she looks away fast, almost guilty. That's not indifference. That's not indifference. That's exposure, or the way she reacts when you pull back. A woman who doesn't care won't notice your absence. But her, she feels it instantly. She may not chase you. She may not even mention it. But her energy shifts. Her tone changes. There's a subtle tension, like something inside her just got disturbed, because it did. You became part of her emotional rhythm, and now she's trying to pretend you're not. And here's where it gets complicated, because instead of leaning in, she might create distance. She might take longer to reply. She might act colder than usual, not because she feels less, but because she feels too much. This is the paradox most men fail to understand. The more she feels, the more she hides, because showing it would mean risking rejection. It would mean handing you power over something she's not ready to lose control of. So instead, she plays it safe. She keeps you close enough to feel you, but far enough to protect herself. And you, standing in the middle of this emotional push and pull, start questioning everything. But the truth is, if she was neutral, you'd feel peace. You wouldn't feel this tension, this curiosity, this pull that keeps bringing you back to her energy. That pull exists for a reason, because emotions, especially hidden ones, have a point way of leaking out, not through words, but through behavior. And if you pay attention, not to what she says, but to what she can't help but show, you'll start seeing the truth she's trying so hard to keep buried. So before you dismiss her silence, before you assume her distance means disinterest, understand this. Some women don't show love by moving closer. They show it by struggling not to. There's a moment you've probably felt, but couldn't explain. When she's around you, something shifts in her. Not dramatically, not in a way she'd ever admit, but enough to make you question what's really going on beneath the surface. She becomes hyper-aware, not just of you, but of herself. The way she talks, the way she sits, even the smallest things, like how quickly she responds or how much she reveals. It's like she's constantly adjusting, editing herself in real time. And that's not something a woman does for a man she feels nothing for. That's what happens when she cares too much. Because when a woman is emotionally invested, but trying to hide it, she doesn't relax into the connection. She controls it. Every word becomes calculated, every reaction filtered. She wants to appear unaffected, but in doing so, she becomes the opposite, unnaturally precise. You'll notice it in conversations. She might hold eye contact a second too long, then suddenly break it like she remembered she wasn't supposed to. She might open up about something personal, then immediately shut it down with a joke or a change of subject, like she accidentally let you see too much and had to pull it back. That push and pull isn't random. It's a battle between what she feels and what she's willing to show. And here's something most men overlook. When a woman is trying not to fall for you, she doesn't just hide her emotions. She tests yours, subtly, indirectly, in ways that don't look like tests unless you know what to watch for. She might mention another guy, not seriously, not convincingly, but just enough to see how you react. Not because she's interested in him, but because she's trying to measure your interest in her without exposing her own. Or she'll pull back emotionally for a few days, just to see if you notice, if you reach out, if you feel her absence the way she feels yours. Because deep down she wants confirmation, but she refuses to ask for it. And this is where things get even more revealing. When you succeed at something, when you're at your best, when other people recognize your value, watch her reaction closely. A woman who's neutral will be supportive, sure, but her energy will stay steady. Hers, it spikes. Not just pride, but something deeper, a quiet intensity, like your wins affect her more than they should. She may try to downplay it, keep her response casual, but there's a flicker in her eyes, something that says, "This matters to me more than I want it to." Because it does. When a woman is secretly in love, your reality starts influencing hers. Your mood affects her mood. Your presence changes her state, and she hates that. Not because it's you, but because it means she's no longer fully in control. So, she compensates. She might tease you more than usual, challenge you, even act slightly indifferent at times. Not to push you away, but to balance the emotional weight she's trying to hide. It's her way of saying, "I'm not as affected as I feel." But the truth leaks out in the details, like how she remembers things you said weeks ago. Small, insignificant details that even you forgot, or how she reacts when someone else gets too close to you. Not with obvious jealousy, but with a subtle shift, a slight withdrawal, a change in tone, something that tells you she noticed, and it bothered her more than she'd ever admit. Because jealousy, when hidden, doesn't explode. It tightens. And if you're paying attention, you'll feel it. Not in what she says, but in what she can't fully hide. There's something even more revealing than what she does when you're around. And that's what happens when you're not. Because a woman who's trying to hide her feelings will control herself in front of you, but distance exposes everything she's trying to keep contained. Watch the pattern. She disappears, then reappears. Not randomly, not carelessly, but almost like she's been thinking about you, fighting the urge to reach out, and then finally giving in just enough to stay connected without looking like she needs to. You'll get a message that feels casual on the surface. Something simple, maybe even unnecessary, but it's never really about what she says. It's about the fact that she chose to say anything at all. That's not coincidence. That's restraint breaking for a moment. And when she comes back, pay attention to the energy. It's rarely neutral. There's a softness there, a familiarity that feels deeper than the situation should justify, like she's picking up a connection that never fully went away, even when she tried to create distance, because she didn't stop feeling. She just tried to stop showing it. And here's where it gets even more telling. When a woman is secretly in love with you, she doesn't just think about you. She checks on you in ways you won't always notice. Quietly, indirectly, without giving herself away. She might watch your social media without interacting. Notice changes in your routine. Ask mutual connections about you in a way that sounds casual, but isn't. She's gathering information, not because she's curious, but because she's emotionally invested. But she refuses to be obvious, because being obvious would mean being vulnerable. And vulnerability is exactly what she's trying to avoid. So instead, she creates controlled moments of closeness. Moments where she can feel connected to you without fully exposing how much you matter to her. A quick conversation, a brief interaction, just enough to satisfy the emotional pull, but not enough to lose control. And if you lean in too much during these moments, she might pull back again. Not because she's uninterested, but because you're getting too close to something she's not ready to admit. This is the rhythm of hidden love. It's inconsistent on the surface, but deeply consistent underneath. Every move she makes is driven by the same internal conflict. She wants you, but she doesn't want you to know how much. And that creates a tension you can feel, but can't fully explain. You start wondering why she keeps coming back, why she never fully disappears, why there's always this invisible thread pulling her back into your space. Even when she tries to step away, that thread is emotional attachment, and it doesn't break easily. In fact, the more she tries to suppress it, the stronger it becomes. Because emotions that aren't expressed don't disappear. They build, they intensify, they look for cracks to escape through, and those cracks show up in moments she can't fully control. Like when she laughs a little too genuinely at something you say, or when her tone softens without her realizing it, or when she lingers just a second longer than she should before walking away. Those moments are real. They're not calculated. They're not filtered. They're her without the mask. And if you pay attention to those unguarded seconds, you'll start to see a version of her that she's trying very hard to keep hidden. Not because it's not there, but because it matters too much. There's a shift that happens when feelings get too strong to fully hide. And it shows up in the way she reacts when she feels like she's losing you. This is where everything becomes undeniable. Because a woman who's indifferent doesn't fight for emotional space in your life. She doesn't adjust her behavior when she senses distance. She doesn't suddenly become more present when she feels you slipping away. But she changes. Not in obvious ways. She won't suddenly confess her feelings or chase you openly. That would break the image she's worked so hard to maintain. But the shift is there. Subtle, strategic, and emotionally driven. You might notice she becomes more responsive. Messages that used to take hours now come quicker. Conversations that felt surface level suddenly carry more depth. She starts asking questions. Not random ones, but ones that reveal she wants to understand you better. Your thoughts, your plans, your world. That's not curiosity, that's investment. And it only shows up when she feels the risk of losing access to you. Because here's the truth most men don't realize. A woman can ignore a man she likes for a while. She can suppress her emotions, create distance, and pretend she's unaffected. But the moment she believes that man is truly moving on, something inside her reacts. Not out of ego, out of attachment. And attachment doesn't stay quiet when it feels threatened. So she leans in just enough. She might initiate a conversation when she usually wouldn't. She might bring up memories you shared, reminding you subtly that there's history there. Something real, something worth holding on to. She might even become slightly more playful, more engaged, more present than you've ever seen her before. But notice, she never goes all the way. She gives you just enough to feel her, but not enough to fully understand her. Because fully understanding her would mean seeing the truth she's still trying to hide. And sometimes that internal conflict leaks out in unexpected ways, like when she gets irritated over something small, not because the situation matters, but because her emotions are closer to the surface than she wants them to be. When feelings are suppressed, they don't disappear, they distort. They come out sideways through tension, through mood shifts, through reactions that feel slightly stronger than they should. You might think, why is she acting like this over something so minor? But it's never about the surface. It's about everything underneath, everything she's holding back. And here's one of the clearest signs. When she sees you giving attention to someone else, not in an exaggerated dramatic way, but naturally, casually, watch her. A woman who doesn't care will stay emotionally neutral. Maybe she'll notice, maybe she won't, but it won't affect her state. Her, she feels it. You'll see a change. Maybe she goes quieter. Maybe her energy drops slightly. Maybe she becomes just a little distant, like she's pulling herself back to protect something fragile inside her, because she's not just observing you anymore. She's emotionally tied to you, and seeing that potentially shift even slightly triggers something she can't fully control. But she'll still try. She'll mask it, adjust her tone, act like nothing changed, because admitting that it affects her would mean admitting what she feels. And that's the one thing she's not ready to do. So instead, she keeps playing the role composed, controlled, unaffected. But if you look closely, you'll see the cracks forming, and those cracks don't lie. At a certain point, hiding feelings stops being clean and starts becoming messy. That's when the contradictions get stronger, the signals get louder, and the version of her she's trying to protect, begins slipping through more often than she can control. This is where most men either wake up or completely miss it, because now it's not just subtle shifts anymore. It's emotional leakage. You'll start noticing that she invests in you in ways that don't match the story she's trying to tell. She'll claim distance, act detached, keep her words neutral, but her actions will quietly contradict all of it. She shows up not always consistently, not always predictably, but she shows up when it matters. When you need support, when you're going through something, when there's an opportunity to be present in your life, she finds a way to be there. And she'll never frame it as something significant. She'll make it seem casual, coincidental, like it just happened, but it didn't. Effort always reveals truth, especially when words are hiding it. And here's where even more telling. When a woman is secretly in love with you, she becomes emotionally protective over you in ways she doesn't fully understand herself. She notices when you're off, when your energy changes, when something isn't right, even if you haven't said a word. And instead of directly confronting it, she'll approach it indirectly. A small check-in, a subtle question, a shift in her tone that carries more concern than usual because she feels connected to your state, even if she's pretending she's not. And that emotional connection creates something powerful and dangerous for her. She starts prioritizing you without admitting it. You'll see it in the way she adjusts her time, the way she remembers your preferences, the way she reacts to things that affect you. Like, it's not loud, it's not obvious, but it's consistent enough to feel intentional, because it is. Feelings don't just exist in the mind. They shape behavior, and no matter how much she tries to control herself, behavior always leaks the truth eventually. But here's the part that confuses most men. Alongside all this hidden care, you might also see moments where she seems almost distant, even dismissive, like she suddenly pulls her energy back, becomes harder to read, harder to reach. That's not her losing interest. That's her regaining control. Because every time she feels herself getting too emotionally involved, too exposed, she resets. She creates space. She reminds herself not to fall too deep. And you, on the receiving end of this, feel the inconsistency. You feel the warmth, then the cold, the closeness, then the distance. And it makes you question everything. But the truth is, consistency is easy when there are no real emotions involved. Indifference is stable. It doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't create tension. What you're experiencing, with her, that tension is a sign of something real being held back. Because if she truly didn't care, You wouldn't feel this internal pull. You wouldn't be analyzing her behavior, trying to decode her actions, sensing that there's something beneath the surface that doesn't match what she shows. That feeling you have, it's not random. It's your awareness picking up on emotional signals she hasn't fully managed to hide. And the more she tries to suppress them, the more they show up in ways she can't fully control. Through effort, through attention, through moments where her guard slips just enough for you to see what's really there. Not clearly, not completely, but undeniably. There comes a point where you have to stop asking what she's saying and start asking what her behavior is costing her. Because that's where the truth lives. A woman can control her words. She can manage her image, keep things vague, stay emotionally guarded. But what she can't fake for long is emotional investment. Because investment always requires energy, time, attention, presence. And people don't spend those things on someone who means nothing to them. So look at the pattern as a whole. Not the isolated moments that confuse you, but the consistent undercurrent that keeps pulling her back into your life. The way she never fully lets go. The way she stays connected, even when she tries to create distance. The way her actions quietly contradict the story she's trying to present. That contradiction is your answer, because indifference doesn't create conflict, but hidden love does. It creates hesitation, overthinking, emotional tension that leaks through cracks she didn't intend to show. It forces her to walk a line between what she feels and what she's willing to risk. And here's the part most men avoid facing. Just because she feels something doesn't mean she's ready to act on it. Feelings and readiness are not the same thing. She can care deeply about you and still hold herself back. She can feel connected to you and still choose distance. Not because you're not enough, but because of what it would cost her to fully open up. Past experiences, fear of losing control, fear of getting hurt, or even fear of how much she actually wants you. And if you ignore that reality, you'll misplay everything. You'll chase clarity from someone who's not ready to give it. You'll push for consistency from someone who's still fighting herself internally. And in doing that, you might force her to pull away completely. Not because the feelings aren't there, but because the pressure becomes too much. So the real question isn't just, does she feel something? It's deeper than that. It's what do you do with this information? Because once you see the signs, once you understand the pattern, once you realize that her distance might not be rejection, but restraint, you have a choice. You can either become reactive, letting her inconsistency control your emotions, or you can become grounded, recognizing what's real without needing her to confirm it immediately. And that's where your power is. Not in forcing her to reveal what she's hiding, but in how you respond to what she's already showing. Because the truth is, the moment you stop chasing validation, the moment you stop needing her to say it out loud, you shift the dynamic completely. You become steady, unmoved by the push and pull, and that's when she feels it the most. Not your words, not your effort, but your absence of need. Because a woman who's secretly in love, but holding back, is constantly measuring emotional safety. And the more pressure she feels, the more she retreats. But when she feels space, when she feels that you're not trying to force anything out of her, that's when her guard starts to weaken, slowly, naturally, without resistance. So here's the question I would want you to answer honestly, without overthinking it. If her actions were an equation, effort plus attention plus emotional reaction, what does it equal? Because deep down, you already know the answer. Drop it in the comments. And if this made something click for you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see what's been right in front of them this whole fine.